be hearing story time with Mr. Lamada.
Good morning and welcome to Story Time. Thank you so much for joining me today on Story Time. I am glad you're here and I am glad to be sharing this beautiful story with you. And this one is called This Bridge Will Not Be Grey. Absolutely, this bridge will not be grey. And this one is written by Dave Eggers and illustrations by Taka Nichols. Good morning to you and welcome wherever you're joining us from. Please, as always, let me know where you're joining us from and who is joining in with you. Thank you so much for joining in Story Time today. We have this book is quite long today, so we will be getting started very shortly and reading through, but I absolutely encourage you to join in. It is absolutely wonderful, and hopefully we learned a thing or two about this amazing bridge that will not be grey. What bridge is it? Good morning to you. Happy Tuesday. And of course, if you're back at school like us, I hope everything is going well. And I do apologize for coming in a minute or so late because I was ending class for the morning. So good morning to you and welcome to Story Time. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Thank you so much for joining in Story Time today. We are reading This Bridge Will Not Be Grey. And this one is written by Dave Eggers and illustrations by Taka Nichols, and of course being read with permission of Chronicle Books of San Francisco. Good morning to you. Please let us know where you're joining us from and let us see who is with us right now. Good morning to you, Sonia Abrantes. How are you doing with João Tiago out in Portugal? Good morning to you. Good evening to you. How are you doing today? Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, Sarah and Nathan in Illinois, good morning to you. Amanda West, how are you doing today? I am glad you are here. Thank you so much for joining in Story Time. And Henry in Harvard, how are you doing, buddy? Good to see you here. Thank you so much for joining in. And Marietta as well. And Henry, thank you for the recommendations yesterday as well. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I am glad you are here. Terry McLeod, you're saying our power has been out all morning, so windy out here, you know. Yes, indeed. Abraham, good morning to you. I know it's been really windy today in Auckland and the Bay Area, so please do stay safe. And if you do not have power, I hope it is restored soon. Thank you so much for sharing that information, and I hope this story can give us something to just get lost in for a while and enjoy. Thank you so much for joining in. Please, as always, let us know where you are, who is joining in with you, where are you joining us from, and of course I am glad you are here for this amazing story. This Bridge Will Not Be Grey, written by Dave Eggers and illustrations by Taka Nichols. I hope you're ready for this one. And of course, we're reading it with permission of Chronicle Books of San Francisco. We're going to give a few more minutes so people can get ready, join in Story Time today, and get comfortable. And also, like I say, this book is slightly long, so we'll be getting started very soon. Good morning to you. Good morning to you, Sharon Lungo and Soraya. How are you doing? Sticky Spider, good to see you here. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. And of course, to you as well, Sharon Lungo, good morning. And then Dr. Cobb, how are you doing today? Great to see you, Dr. Corb. Thank you so much for joining in today. Absolutely love it. Thank you. I am glad you are here. Good morning to you, Ellen Edwards in Chicago, and you're saying still no sun out in Chicago. Well, we have a lot of wind out here. I hope you are still keeping warm, Ellen, and I hope that we will keep you warm with this beautiful story today. It is a Dave Eggers classic, and of course, illustrations by Taka Nichols. So you know you're in for a treat. Good morning to you and welcome to Story Time. Thank you so much for joining in. Isabella, good to see you again. How are you doing? Good morning to you, Leslie, and of course, good morning to you, Louise, as well. Hope middle school is going well for you, bud. And of course, you're joining us from right here in Auckland. Good morning to you. How are you doing today? Danny, good morning to you as well. out in LBC. Good morning to you, Chriselle. Good morning to you, Clay, Rocco, and Great Grandpa June. I am so glad you're here. Good to see you here, Great Grandpa June. Happy 2021 to you. And of course, Rocco, I'm always happy when you can join us for story time. Thank you so much for joining in this morning. Good morning to you, Maria Antonia, and you say hi. Yes, indeed. So short and sweet. Hi. Good morning to you. How are you doing, Maria Antonia? Thank you so much for joining in. Maddox, how are you doing today? Trevesta Maddox, and of course, Zion and Zayana. Good morning to you. How are you doing? And Maria Antonia, you're saying, hi, everybody. Hi, guys. All right. Good morning to you. Eva Scarlett, love it, love it, love it. Good morning to you, sweetheart. How are you doing today? And Jade as well. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Rowan joining us from San Francisco with Elizabeth. Good morning to you and welcome to Story Time. And Rowan, guess what city we're reading about today? Yes, this famous bridge is somewhere close by. Good morning to you and welcome to Story Time. All right, so we are going to get started. Our book is slightly long today, but it is a great one and I think we will enjoy it absolutely. All right, here we go. This bridge will not be gray. Story by Dave Eggers and illustrations or art by Taka Nichols. And we are reading this one with permission of Chronicle Books of San Francisco. All right, here we go. This bridge will not be gray. This bridge will not be gray. Story by Dave Eggers and illustrations by Taka Nichols. And of course, read with permission of Chronicle Books of San Francisco. In the beginning, there was a bridge. And what about that bridge? No, before that, there was a bay that led to the ocean. This ocean was the Pacific, the mighty Pacific. The passageway between the bay and the ocean was called the Golden Gate. On one side of the Golden Gate was the Presidio, a military base at the top of the city of San Francisco. On the other side, there were only hills, green and yellow, rising high above the sea. Beyond these hills were a series of small towns along the coast. The only way to get to these towns was by boat, or by going very far north, coming back down again. It was not easy. And there is the Golden Gate. So, over the years, many proposed building a bridge between San Francisco and these hills. But many more thought this a very bad idea. It will mar the beauty of this land, they said. What do you think? Should they put a bridge? What's wrong with the boats? They said. We want to continue using boats. But this book is not about the debate to build the bridge. This book is about the shape and color of the bridge they did build. In 1928, it was decided to build a bridge, and a man named Joseph Strauss was hired to design it. Originally from Cincinnati, Joseph was an expert in all kinds of bridges. And what bridge was Joseph going to build? The first design he came up with was the strangest, most awkward and plain old ugly bridge anyone had ever seen. This is actually what it looked like. Whoa. People compared it to an upside down rat trap. They thought he'd lost his mind. But he had not lost his mind. He was a scientific man, and he had designed a scientific bridge. It was functional, but it was grotesque. Functional but ugly, the people said, wasn't good enough. This bridge, built to span this beautiful and land against this beautiful sea, had to be beautiful itself. Oh, what do they do? So he tried again. This time he asked for help. One of his helpers was Leon Moiseff. Leon had come to the USA from Latvia and had become one of the most respected bridge designers in the world. He designed the Manhattan Bridge, which is believed to be in or near New York City. Leon designed a suspension bridge, one with swooping lines and tall towers. It would be the longest suspension bridge in the world. It would be the tallest too. Was this going to work? Everyone was excited about this design. I like it very much, said this man. My aunt likes it very much, said this woman. The third person was chewing food, but seemed to agree with the other two people. But still, the bridge appeared a bit stern in style. So Joseph and Leon asked another person named Irving Morrow to help out. Irving Morrow was an architect, and his wife, Gertrude, was an architect too. And together they lived not far from the Golden Gate. They designed homes and gardens, but Irving had never designed anything at all like a bridge. Nothing this big or grand or important to so many people all at once. Was it going to succeed? Irving threw himself into the work. He suggested that the bridge have vertical fluting and Art Deco flourishes. He suggested pedestrian walkways on either side of the bridge. He suggested that there be beautiful lamps along the walkways. Just about none of these things was necessary for the functioning of the bridge. They could have just built a plainer and cheaper and quicker. But Irving Morrow thought that the bridge could be both a bridge and something like art. This was a new idea to many of the people who were involved in this project. So eventually the bridge was designed, and steelworkers in Maryland, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey began building the bridge piece by piece in thousands of sections. These sections were put on rail cars and then on boats. And all these boats took these parts all the way down the coast of North America, through the Panama Canal, and up the coast of Mexico and California. That's a long way. You can see they went all the way down there, through there, and back up. It was a long trip, but the pieces of steel did not mind. For they are inanimate objects. Inanimate, what does that word mean? Hope you can find out later. Finally, it was time to construct the bridge. Men had to dive into the freezing ocean to sink the bridge's foundations. Other men sitting high above the ocean connected the parts. It was dangerous and complicated work. The workers used all kinds of tools in their work and tried not to drop them into the ocean. If you drop a hammer or wrench from the bridge hundreds of feet above the ocean, well, you're pretty much out of luck. So hold on to those tools. Seeing the bridge rise was very exciting to the people of San Francisco and the Bay Area. We should stop here and mention that San Francisco is a city of about 800,000 people. It is one of the most unusual cities in the world, given that it's built on and around 49 hills, some of them as high as 928 feet. Have you been to San Francisco? Some of these things you will have to see to believe. It is a very strange place. Do you think so? And there is the map. There is the bay and the Pacific Ocean and everything else. And there is the city, Sausalito, San Rafael. And I'm right here in Oakland, right there on the bay. San Francisco is one of the many dozens of cities and towns built around the bay. Together, these cities and towns make up a region known as the Bay Area. The bay, its name is for the one that leads to the Pacific Ocean. And this bay leads to the Pacific Ocean through the Golden Gate. Remember that? At the Golden Gate was where they were building this bridge. And it was going up just fine. They estimated that it would take 4 years to build the bridge, with thousands of workers working on it. Imagine that, 4 years. But there was one thing that they had not decided on. They had not decided what color to make the bridge. Isn't it strange? Isn't it a strange thing that a very large group of adults would undertake a project of this size and have no color picked out? But that's how it is sometimes. In this case, everyone decided that by the time the bridge was finished, they would have the color part figured out. So they kept building it. First, there were the cables. What do you think came next? After the cables, first there were the towers. Of course, the towers were first, and they were astonishing to all. When the towers were finished, it was a day of great jubilation. This thing that had not been there before was now there. The tops of the towers were 746 feet above the water level. Sometimes the things humans make baffle even the humans who make them. While the bridge was being finished, though, people were still debating the color. And the debate over the color brought forth some very interesting ideas. What was happening? What color would this bridge be? The Navy thought it should be yellow and black. No kidding. They did. The Navy thought that the bridge would be safer that way, so ships and planes could easily see it. Practical. What of the Army? What did they think? The Army had a stranger idea. How about red and white stripes, they said. This is true. This is a factual book. The Army wanted it to look like a candy cane for the same reason the Navy wanted it to look like a tiger with jaundice, so that it would be easily seen by planes and ships. And so the color debate continues. But most people thought that these were not such great ideas. Most people thought that the sensible choice would be one of the following: black, white, or gray. Why? These were the colors of most large human-made things. Most buildings were gray or black. Monuments and towers were usually white, and almost all bridges were gray. Gray was a serious color. Gray was practical. Gray was dignified. Who could object to gray? What do you think? Should they make it gray? A person named Irving could, and he did. Irving Morrow had been watching the bridge rise. He often rode on a ferry out near the bridge, and he loved seeing the towers rise above the water. At that time, of course, the towers were orange. The steel workers had created the bridge in its many pieces and had done something before they sent the pieces of the bridge onto the rail cars, then the boats and the coast through the canal and up the other coast. They had coated the pieces of steel in a kind of paint that prevented them from rusting. They used this paint all the time. In fact, most of the steel they made and delivered came coated in this same paint. The color of this paint was a certain reddish orange. No frills, anti-rust paint. And that's how it looked like. Is that the color they will use? When Irving Morrow was on the ferry one day, he watched the orange steel being assembled, and he had a thought. He thought that this color was beautiful. What do you think? And when Irving was asked what color he thought the bridge should be, he said, "Why not leave it this color?" And people said, "What?" And they said, "Oh." And they said, "Irving, you're nuts. No bridge had ever been orange." Who had ever heard of an orange bridge? No one had, because no bridge in known human history had been orange. What were they to do? And for a good portion of the human race, because something has not already been, that is a good reason to fear it coming to be. So true. But as the debate continued about the color of the bridge, an interesting thing happened. Other people noticed the same thing Irving had noticed, that this accidental orange somehow looked right. A woman named Alda Clement noticed. A man named Beniamino Bafano noticed as well. And they talked. What color would be this bridge? And as the bridge continued to rise and more people saw the orange steel against the green hills, above the blue water, below the blue and white sky, they said, for some reason, that looks right. And everybody watched. But still, no bridge had ever been orange. Orange was silly, so most of those involved figured the bridge would be gray. Gray was serious. Gray was safe. Well, would the bridge be gray? As they got closer to being finished with the bridge, though, and closer to painting it gray, Irving Morrow was a quiet man he was a shy man who was no fancy man with lots of power, began to get loud. Why was Irving Morrow getting loud? Well, now wait a minute, he said. You're not painting it gray. He wrote letters about the Orange Bridge. He collected letters from others who believed an orange bridge was the right thing. And his letters became louder and more insistent. He would have to see this bridge every day for the rest of his life. He did not want a gray bridge. And all those letters kept coming in. This bridge, he told everyone, will not be gray. This bridge will not be gray. And others began to echo him. This bridge should not be gray. This bridge cannot be gray. Well, this bridge will not be gray, they all said. Finally, the powers that be decided to try it. And after some time, they agreed with Irving that though it was strange and unprecedented and bold, the orange was the right color. And so it was. and so it stood. And still stands today. You know what they call the color of the bridge? It has an official name, International Orange. But because the winds and fog and salt water in the bay are harsh, the bridge needs to be repainted year-round. On any given day, painters are repainting some parts of the bridge. They use 10,000 gallons of paint a year. Imagine that. 10,000 gallons of paint a year. It is crazy that people repaint a bridge all year. It is crazy that people repaint an orange bridge all year with all that paint. But people love to paint it, and people love to look at it. The Golden Gate Bridge, which is orange, is the best known and best loved bridge in the world. Hopefully you've all had a chance to visit this amazing bridge. It is best known because it is bold and courageous and unusual and even strange. It is best loved because it is bold and courageous and unusual and even strange. And it is these things because Irving Morrow and thousands of others said, this bridge will not be gray. The end. Thank you so much for joining in Story Time today. I hope you enjoyed that story and, of course, learned something about the Golden Gate Bridge, the bridge that will not be gray. Thank you so much for joining in today. And I hope you enjoyed every bit of that. Of course, lots to learn from that. And we see how many people come together to make all these things around us happen. We see buildings, we see many great schools and roads and everything. And we think, how did they come about? And you get to see how teamwork, how working together as a community can help us bring in all these great things. And of course, if you have something that you are really passionate about, write your officials, write a letter. Speak up, let your voice be heard so the right things can be done, or what you feel are the right things should be done. Thank you so much for joining in Story Time today. I hope we learned something together, and we will continue on Story Time this week, celebrating all the different arts, all the different things that people do, and celebrating that work. And tomorrow we'll be looking at somebody very, very important. And this one was a lawmaker. This one was a change maker. And her name is Shirley Chisholm. And we'll be reading that tomorrow for Inauguration Day. And this one is called She Was the First. So do join us for that book tomorrow and find out all about Shirley Chisholm, the amazing Shirley Chisholm. But I hope today you enjoyed the book that we had for you, This Bridge Will Not Be Gray. And this one is written by Dave Eggers and illustrations by Taka Nichols. And if you like it, please do check out where you can get yourself a copy. But remember, use your library. Go to the library, get yourself a copy so you can read this book over and over again. Yes, indeed. And of course, if you've been to San Francisco, I hope you've been able to visit the Golden Gate Bridge. And hopefully maybe someday in the future, if you have not been yet, you are able to come out here and see it. Thank you so much for joining in today. Let us see who was with us. Thank you so much for joining us. Jade, one more time. I am glad you were here for that story. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining in. Ava Scarlett, good evening to you one more time. Good morning to you, Lutabezi. How are you doing today with Marvin Njekwa out in Lusaka, Zambia? Thank you so much for joining in today. Absolutely love it. Jay, you say that bridge will not be gray. No, it will not. Thank you, Eva Scarlett. Good morning to you. Thank you so much. Dr. Carby say, oh, a zillion ideas for science teaching classes. Absolutely. Thank you so much. I am glad we're able to share ideas and trade great books like that. Thank you so much, Dr. Cobb. Absolutely appreciate it. Sharon Lungo and Soraya, you say, cool piece of history about the bridge. Absolutely, right? This is, I feel like it's something that we ride over, we drive over, we see so many times, especially if you're in the Bay or even in movies and stuff, but we never really think about it. that deeply. So it was really interesting facts from that. Thank you so much for joining in and sharing that part. And Ellen Edwards in Chicago, you say, I love learning all that. Thank you so much. Absolutely appreciate it. That's why we're here, to keep each other sharp, to keep sharpening each other. Thank you so much for joining in. And Rocco, you're saying Golden Gate Bridge is, you've been to the Golden Gate Bridge a couple of times, and Rocco was not a fan of the traffic going by. Rocco, I still feel it doesn't compare to LA traffic though. Well, everybody, this has been story time for today. I am glad you were able to join in. I hope you enjoyed this great story that we had for you by Dave Eggers and Tucker Nichols. This bridge will not be gray. Thank you so much for joining in. Please have yourselves a beautiful rest of your day. Much love from me, and I will see you again tomorrow when we are back for another story. And remember, tomorrow is Inauguration Day, so we will be watching that, the new president being inaugurated and vice president. Yes, and then we will be right here on Story Time and get to share a little bit of that as well. Thank you so much for joining in Story Time today. Please, please, please have yourselves a beautiful day. Hugs and love from me as always, and I will see you in the morning. Bye-bye.